What's going on, guys? Excuse the red face and the crazy hair. We've been riding the bike, obviously. It's like 90 degrees out here in California today. Anyway, so topic of today's video is a little bit more of a serious one. So I've been noticing a little trend on YouTube lately. There's a lot of videos popping up of people with anxiety problems, anxiety, panic attacks, things like that. So when I think of anxiety, I don't, everybody has basic general anxiety. Everybody has anxiety where they're about to go on a date, or they're about to go, on a job interview or something like that, or on some really important business meeting, and they get a little nervous. Their hands sweat, or their heart beats a little bit faster, whatever. That is totally natural. That's going to happen to anybody, even the most badass motherfuckers. Are going to get a little nervous in certain situations. Okay, so I hear people talk about anxiety, and when they're talking about that, and then they're jumping on to taking pills or something like that to fix this problem, that is stupid. Anyway, so when I'm talking about anxiety, and I'm talking about panic attacks in particular, panic attacks, at least in my definition, are a debilitating amount of anxiety where you basically have lost control of your ability to function in a normal manner. What I mean by that, in my example, I am somebody who has, I feel, recovered from panic attacks and actually, cured themselves, if you want to call it that. But basically, I used to throw up. I used to get so full of anxiety, and my stomach would just clench into a little ball. And if I had enough food in my stomach, that food would have to go somewhere, and it came out my mouth. So it was an autonomic reflex, basically subconscious, just instant tightening of that muscle, and bam, I'd have to get out of that situation really quick. In fact, I'd always be looking for the exit doors anywhere I went. Pretty much, if I was inside of a room or a limo or something like that, I'd basically always, first things first, I'd check to make sure there was somewhere where I could puke if I really needed to, if the situation called for it. So obviously, this is something that starts to rule your life. If you're constantly worried about this thing happening to you, then you can't really be in the moment. You can't really enjoy yourself around new situations and things like that, because you're constantly focused on this other thing that might happen. And sometimes it does happen, and that's even worse. So how do we stop it? How do you get over it? That type of thing. So first things first, we're gonna lay a couple ground rules here. So first thing to consider: it is not your fault that this is happening to you. I truly believe that most of the time, people and doctors and psychologists, we don't really know why it's going to happen to you, and really that doesn't matter. So know that it's not your fault, but also know that you have to own it. You have to fix the problem. You have to do the work to cure yourself of this, because nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody can do it for you. You can't pay $1 million to get rid of panic attacks. And this video is going to be about panic attacks, because general anxiety disorder, whatever. If you need to take Prozac to get over that, then go travel into some third world countries and go see what real problems are, because you don't have them. Second thing to consider: medication will not cure you. Will it help in some instances, in some people's cases? Yes, it might help you, but it's not going to cure you. So you're going to be reliant on that medication no matter what for the rest of your life, and that is not something that you want to be relying upon. I mean, what if you can't get it? What if you start becoming resistant to that medication? There's a whole lot of reasons why you wouldn't want to do it. It's kind of like the chemotherapy situation, where you have cancer in one part of your body, and then you basically nuke your body with radiation in order to get rid of a small issue with your body. That's kind of what these, Prozac, Zoloft pills, whatever, they basically just numb you to the point that you don't feel anything, and then therefore you you control your anxiety somewhat. I personally took pills when I was 19. I thought I needed them. I begged my mom. I was like, I need to go to the doctor. Of course, she didn't believe it, that panic attacks were a real thing or whatever, but I went to the doctor and explained my problem. He was real quick to write me the prescription. Oh, no problem, make you feel good about it, whatever. And I don't remember the name of it at the time. It was some new pill at the time. So, but long story short, I took it. It made me feel just weird. I was completely disconnected from my environment. it was hard to focus on any one thing, and I just didn't feel myself at all. And some people are looking for that. So, you know, if that's you, then you need to carb up, and we'll get to that in a second. But the pill is not the way. So basically I took the pill for about a month. By the way, it didn't cure me. I still threw up in multiple situations. And also I basically got erectile dysfunction from it. So I couldn't even ejaculate. So if that's what you want, then be my guest. But that is not my recommendation. Third thing to consider, don't take advice from people who haven't had serious panic attacks like yours. Like I said before, a lot of people generalize anxiety disorder and panic attacks, and those people just tell you to, you know, get it together, take a deep breath, whatever. People that have had serious panic attacks are so far beyond these generic methods. They've tried everything. I tried everything. I learned to breathe. I read books about it. I did all this stuff. None of those things fixed the problem. I still had to battle the situation. I would still have to leave parties and go out in the front yard and hide in the corner and puke my guts out until there was nothing left, and then I can go back inside and I was fine. It was just a reaction that I couldn't control. So unless somebody understands that, then they're not the person to take advice from. Okay, fourth thing, and this is where we're going to start getting into how to overcome this. All right, so my methodology, the way that I kind of started to get over it was, number one, I realized that you know, going back to rule number one, I needed to own that problem. Nobody was going to fix it except for me, and I basically knew that I knew what the trigger was, and I knew that I needed to just keep introducing myself to that trigger over and over and over. And unfortunately, it was like beating myself in the head with a baseball bat, but eventually it did subside. So it's kind of like trying anything new. You know, it's difficult at first, it's unfamiliar at first, and then you just keep going at it, and eventually it's normal to you. So just keep introducing yourself to the situation that's triggering you, and just let that energy basically flow through you. Accept the fact that you might trigger yourself and you might throw up in my case or whatever. I basically just accepted that. And luckily I had good friends at the time that didn't harass me about it or whatever, you know. But this went on for a few years. It wasn't a quick overnight fix. But I think the people who basically you know, hide from the problem and try to avoid triggering themselves eventually develop more triggers. So if you've got one trigger now, fight that one trigger. Don't allow it to become 2, 3, 5, 10 triggers, because then you're just going to be that guy who's got agoraphobia and you're sitting in the house all day long and you can't leave for any one reason. So my recommendation is to battle it head on. Now, don't beat yourself up if it continues to trigger. Just give it time and continue to introduce yourself to the situation. Okay, sixth thing, this will be my final point for the video. I think that diet plays a huge role in the way that your brain perceives things, the way that your chemicals work inside of your brain, inside of your body, to relax yourself and allow you to perceive situations in a more true manner. You know, if you have a lot of carbs in your body, for instance, through fresh fruits and things like that, your brain is going to simply process things better and in a more coherent fashion. You ever notice when you wake up in the morning, you haven't had breakfast yet, and you know, you go a couple hours, you're kind of hungry, and then maybe you go to work or whatever, and somebody's starting to annoy you, that, you know, you're annoyed for no reason. And then you go and you get breakfast in your stomach, and then all of a sudden you're fine 10 minutes later. Well, what happened? It's the food is changing literally the way that your brain function is working. So my recommendation is obviously to go on a high carb, low fat vegan diet. It allows you to get a ton of carbs in your body and your brain. I've never felt better. And honestly, at the age of 30, I consider my case cured, basically. So it was cured before the vegan diet, but nowadays, you know, it's really hard to get me anxious under any circumstances. So I really do consider that a key to keeping the problem at bay for life. All right, guys, I hope you like this video. I can speak more on this topic. I wouldn't call myself an expert. I'm definitely not a doctor, but I struggled with this for many, many years. I'm more than happy to share my experience on it. And I think that I would offer a unique perspective to YouTube. I haven't heard of anybody with this exact same thing or offering hard, concrete ways to actually cure the problem, other than telling you to just toughen up, and that's really not the solution. So I got to get out of here before the helicopters come get me. It's flying through the sky right now. So catch you next time. Like the video if you found it informative, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Let me know if you want to hear more about this experience and this type of thing. So I'll see you later. Bye.